All right, I think everyone's here. We've admitted everyone. Couple names that are a little familiar. Hey, Simone. Hi, Anna. Hi, Shimran. How are you guys? So tonight we're going to be chit-chatting a little about the Blue CoLab, which is one of our project labs that is working on our Pleasantville campus. So welcome back for a couple of the familiar names that we have this evening, and thanks for jumping on so late. So there's a lot of faces here. They all have their webcams on. They're ready to chit chat about the CoLab and what they're doing on the Pleasantville campus. But I'm going to turn the mic over to Dean Hill just to say hey to everybody.
Hi, good evening. This is a special opportunity, and I'm so glad that you would take some time to come out. The focus of our conversation tonight is really on the incredibly important work of one of our labs, the Blue CoLab, which was founded by Professor John Cronin in concert with some of our other faculty, and particularly our students. And Pace University and the Seidenberg School are extraordinarily fortunate to have Professor Cronin to join us. John is one of the true leading lights in the ecology movement and the water rights movement in this country over many, many years. He is internationally renowned and a celebrated figure all around the country for his incredible work, very personal work, and work that he in the early days undertook at a great deal of danger to himself. So he is a greatly respected individual in the ecology movement in this country, and we are very, very fortunate to have him here. Like all very astute people, Professor Cronin recognized the tie-ins between technology and climate change and the need to save the environment in this area and the Hudson River Valley and all around the world. And he established the Blue CoLab here after working for many years with the Pace Environmental Center, Pace's law school, which has the top environmental law program in the country. And we are absolutely delighted to have Professor Cronin with us and to have some of the wonderful Seidenberg students who have been working with him to build out the Blue CoLab and fulfill its mission.
Thank you. So let me say a few words. It's a really interesting time to be talking about this because of the COVID-19 outbreak, and here's why. In April of 1993, 400,000 people in the Milwaukee area fell ill, and nobody knew why. It was 1/3 the population. It turned out that it wasn't a virus, it wasn't measles, it wasn't anything like COVID. It was contamination of drinking water. Fast forward to 2020, and I spoke 2 days ago to the director of the health lab out there who was on the front line in 1993, and he said, we still don't have a way of detecting the parasite that caused that illness before people drink the water. And so when we got together at Seidenberg, that was the big idea. The big idea is we can start innovating and we can start pushing innovation where we can find out what's in water before we drink it. It's as simple as that sounds. Nobody has yet figured out how to do it. But our team of students and professors are hot on it with technology and through their data interpretation and just good old hard work. So the CoLab is very unique. No other school has one. And that's our purpose. Our purpose is to protect human and environmental health using technology. And we have a great number of our team here today. And you'll meet them as we go along. Jill, do we want to introduce people, or do you want to do the video? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we can play the video first, and then we had everyone just introducing themselves and explaining a little bit about their jobs and their involvement with the lab. So see if I could switch gears here. 1 second. All right, let me put this up high enough so you guys can hear it.
Why don't you know the quality of your water before you drink it? You guys like that? Why?
So you can see from that video, the Blue CoLab is not a theoretical project. It's serious hands-on work. People get wet, they get muddy, they dig into data, they dig into equipment, they dig into electronics, and we have a team of 12 that pulls it all together. It's a unique program, not just at Pace, it's a unique program on any university campus. And so you're going to meet now some of our members of our team that are with us today. Among the cream of the crop from Seidenberg. Well, almost all of them, I think. I'm not going to say who's not, but great group of people. So who do we want to start with, Leanne?
I think we had Kyle starting us off. Hi, Kyle.
Hello, my name's Kyle. I'm a junior information systems major. In this CoLab, I work with a lot of the back-end systems, and I kind of have my hands messed with it, all the different parts. I was one of the 2 original people working on this project, and so I have messed with everything from the equipment itself to the code that's running it to bits and pieces of the website. So. Yeah.
So Kyle, when you started working on this project, and when you started going to Seidenberg, did it ever occur to you that you'd be applying your studies to issues of human and environmental health?
Oh no, I didn't think there was any computers in the whole field. I didn't think there were any computer involved stuff. I figured it was all pen and paper, and it seems like from the people that I've talked to, that's what a large majority of the field is still. And the idea of automating it is very much up my alley. I enjoy automation a lot, and been able to like sink our teeth into some pretty interesting problems.
Yeah, data sounds like a very abstract word, an abstract idea, but talk about how real it is, especially the information it delivers when you have a sensor from water to computer to visualization.
Yeah, data is very much an abstract concept. It's hard to kind of like wrap your head around. You can understand it from like understanding what like an Excel spreadsheet that you get during class or something like that, or data you see in your normal textbook. But when you actually get it, it's just raw and it's really gritty. I mean, when we get what data point every 15 minutes from the pond, we get 7 of them. You start talking about a week of data, you're talking about several thousand data points or more, and having to sift through all of that it's a monumental task. And figuring out how to sift through that, figuring out how to turn that into something that you would find in a textbook or you'd find in a piece of paper is a lot, because you have to clean the data, you have to analyze it, you have to come up with your assumptions from it, and doing all of that involves a lot of computational work.
That data comes from sensors. For those of you who don't know, on the Pleasantville campus at Pace, we have a 1-acre pond that we've turned into a laboratory for the Seidenberg School, and that data come from sensors that we have in the pond that take 6 or 7 measurements every 15 minutes and deliver it. As Kyle was saying, the person who oversees that equipment is our buddy Justin Brandon here, And Justin, talk about that. First of all, give us a little bit about your background. You're an Army vet. Well, let me tell this story. When I interviewed you, and I said I'm looking for somebody who knows how to handle technology, and who knows how to work outdoors and so on. And Justin just got this big grin on his face and said, well, when I was up on a pole in Afghanistan fixing things. So we don't have you on a pole in Afghanistan, but talk about what you do.
All right. I'm Justin Brandon. I'm a Seidenberg major, professional computer studies. I think I am now extra qualified as a senior. I am the hardware / field technician for the Blue CoLab. I am in charge of the lab that we have in Austin that keeps all the equipment, along with all the deployments that we have out there. It's my job to maintain the equipment, make sure it's ready for the things that we use it for, do the regular maintenance on it. There's military terms for it, I won't get into those. And also researching new equipment to figure out how we can actually use that equipment to help us out in our lab. There's a few things that we've done recently. We upgraded the modems because when we got the equipment, they came with 3G modems, and since 3G is going mute soon, it was supposed to go mute at the end of 2019, but they changed it a little bit. We had to update our modems to 4G modems, and we've got some benefits from that. We don't have to use longer antennas anymore. There's a couple of different things that we got benefit-wise from using those. As far as the hands-on experience with it, you won't see anything like this in any of the programs that I even know of. This is something you would actually see working for a company out there. The way we work, as you can see here, we're in basically our board meeting. This is one of our every Friday meetings where we're actually, the project leads and everybody that works on the projects come together and we think about where we are currently and what we're going to do. If there's something not working, we get together and try to figure out how to solve it. And we have different specialists inside of the Blue CoLab, so we toss things back and forth and we collaborate on things a lot, which is what the part of the CoLab is for. So Kyle and I work a lot because we're trying to figure out things on the back end on how we're going to actually use the data when it comes across. Leanne and I work together to try to figure out how the data should be presented when it comes off of the hardware, things like that. So it's actually a pretty involved project. Yeah.
So now when I came up doing environmental work, the way you found out what's in water is you went out with a sampling jar. You took a sample with appropriate laboratory procedures and brought it back for analysis and waited for a few days, maybe even a week, to get the results back. But now you're hearing words like sensors, data, modems, for goodness sake, and this is all about delivering the same kind of information that was traditionally done with chemical analyses. So what's the point? What do we do with that information? You know, how is that useful? And Shay Rosado is working on a fascinating project as part of the Blue CoLab that promises to have enormous benefits and great potential for protecting human health. Shay, why don't you talk about the Blue Home Lab?
Hello, I'm Shay. I'm a senior at PACE, and I am the team lead working on the Blue Home Lab, which was a project that was started earlier in the semester. We were tasked with the idea of, okay, so we have this real-time water data. How do we actually make it real-time and make it more accessible to everyday water drinkers? So so the CoLab began. If you guys hear a toddler in the back, that's my 2-year-old daughter, Mackenzie, by the way.
Who's part of the team.
Yeah, she is the youngest intern on the team. And so we began developing an app. We made it so that originally, before all this coronavirus stuff was going on, we had planned on having a mock reservoir in the Seidenberg building. And what we were going to do is one day we were going to contaminate it. Yes, Mackenzie.
Yeah, we were actually going to flood Jill's office. and then throw some contaminants in it. That was going to be our mock reservoir in the Seidenberg building.
Yes, and the idea was that the sensors would be hooked up to the app, and they would be able to detect instantly when this contamination happened, and whoever had the app downloaded would get some kind of a notification on their phone. So after a long semester full of coding, the app is ready, and it's available for Android. And I am happy to have made it because I want to be a software engineer when I graduate, so this gave me some really substantial experience for when I enter the field.
And so going back to what I said earlier about that experience in Milwaukee in April of 1993, the big thing that was missing, and the reason 400,000 people got sick, was because there was nothing that could tell them in advance what was in their drinking water. That is still a science that hasn't been perfected. The app that Shay is working on is going to be the link between real-time sensors in water and a person in their home. The day will come when you should be able to go on your phone and find out the quality of your water that day. Just like you can be told by your dashboard if the air is going out of your tire, or know about the weather. You should be able to know about the quality of your water. So an app would deliver that to a phone, and that's the part that Shay's working on. And it's a so this is the practical part. There's a lot to learn from the research. There's a lot to learn from the hands-on use of the equipment and managing the data. But this is also about the practical application to humans in the environment. And all these different talents you're hearing make up a team. And Joelle, talk about the team aspect of the Blue CoLab. You know, what it's like to be part of the Scrum every Friday and to work at the lab and to the computer lab and our technology lab. It's a real team effort.
Hi everyone, my name is Joel. I'm a senior. My major is information technology. I'm the hardware analyst on the team. In terms of teamwork, every Friday we have Scrum meetings and we collaborate on our different projects and what we're doing. From my end, I focus particularly on the hardware that we currently have, as well as what the team could further have or what we need going forward. I look to make sure that we have everything that we need thus far, whether it's in the lab or on campus, and to make sure that everything's working as it should, as well as understanding why it's doing the things that it's doing. In terms of teamwork specifically, like I said before, every week we have Scrum meetings and we talk about our different projects. And as Justin was mentioning earlier, we collaborate a lot because everyone has a different area of focus. And because we're all working on different projects, sometimes I guess everyone can be in their own space, but at the same time, because everyone has that different opportunity, the outlook is different. You know, the ability to give someone advice on something that you might have necessarily never worked on before, but because you have a different expertise or talent, it can apply in a different type of way. So all of a sudden you have different components of a whole team coming together to make something much bigger and grander in scale. So that's definitely one of the aspects of teamwork on the team.
And one of the things that you said during one of our discussions, Shay, is that the teamwork's not just about the people working on projects together. It's also about lifting each other up. Justin, you talked about this too. Shay, you said not leaving anybody behind. And Justin, you said, you know, it's about building our weaknesses and building our strengths at the same time. Why don't you talk about that, you know, the other aspect of the teamwork?
You want me or Leanne to talk about that?
Justin, go ahead.
Oh, I can talk about it, yes. Part of the fact that we're on a team allows us to, in some ways, delegate some tasks to people that are more specialists in that area. Same time, we can also delegate something to get somebody to learn some things. Joel and I work together a lot with the hardware, and There's been times where my hands were full that I had to pass something over to him for him to learn and figure out what we're going to do with it, and then come back to the team with the finished product to say so we can actually present it and see what we're going to do with it. That happens a lot within the lab just because we're working on each other's strengths and weaknesses, trying to improve our total benefit to the actual lab, which is a good thing because you're going to learn things over and over again. Learn different things the entire time you're working.
Yeah. And actually, sometimes it's just about talking it out. Leanne, you were saying something funny the other day that I got a kick out of, and it was about Shay. You got to listen, Shay. This is pretty good. And what it is, well, we were in our computer lab, and Shay goes like this. Shay will say, I've hit a wall. I can't figure this out. The code's driving me crazy. And then Shay will talk it out loud, and Leanne, myself as well, except I don't understand any of this stuff. Leanne and I will sit there and listen. And by the time Shay reaches the end of explaining her problem, all of a sudden she'll say, I got it. And just talking it out, she solved the problem by herself. Yeah. And then Leanne and I take credit for it. But that's part of what goes on in our computer lab. And it's worth mentioning, and I throw this out to everybody, because I like bragging about this when I talk to professors in other schools. Our CoLab actually has 3 laboratories. We have a 1,500 square foot equipment laboratory. We have a computer laboratory up on the 3rd floor of the Seidenberg building, and we have a 1-acre pond that has become our water laboratory. As students, what's it like to have these riches, this great set of assets to work with? Anybody? Kyle?
Yeah, it's actually a large benefit. Because having the 2 areas, like it kind of like 3 different areas to go to, like when you're trying to do your research. We have like the physical laboratory with the pond, but then like the 2 physical locations to be at, so we can keep all of our equipment in one area, keep everything isolated and contained into one area, so nothing just like suddenly walks away. But having the being in that spot allows you to like focus and like sort of like get away from like all the things that you might be caught up in another lab space or in another area, and it lets you kind of like dive really deep into the problem you're currently working at. Having like the computer lab is great because when we're all working in there, it's easy just to turn your shoulder and be like, hey, I hit a block, like can you just take a look at it? And it's usually just a matter of just the change of perspective from another person is usually just enough to help overcome the block and get to the next part. So just having those areas that lets us like kind of like culminate all of our group brain power into like 2 specific areas to help solve problems.
Right. And by the way, Kyle is doing a part-time internship on the space station at the moment. That's we lent him out to NASA for the day. Actually, he's coming back tomorrow. I'm the director of the CoLab, which means that the truth is I pretend I'm the director of the CoLab. So Leanne Keeley is the one who keeps everybody on task. Leanne, the funny thing about Leanne is that when we first started doing this, and Kyle, you'll remember this, when we first started doing the pilot project a while ago, there was this woman named Leanne that I had barely met who was always on the periphery of the Blue CoLab. And now she's basically coordinating the whole thing. Just sort of came out of nowhere, but not really quite out of nowhere. But Leanne, talk about your experience with working with the team and with the students.
Hi, I'm Leanne Keeley. I work as a staff member working on websites at the Pace Seidenberg School, and I'm the program coordinator for this project. I sort of stumbled upon it as part of my graduate work. I'm also a Pace alumnus. So I do a lot of work with the students who you see here today, helping them stay on task and work through certain problems and, making sure they all show up on time, helping them do what they do. And I think it's really a fascinating project. It gives the students and me a lot of experiences that we would not otherwise have. in a typical school environment because it is so hands-on and we're building stuff from scratch, and we're very non-regimented. If anybody comes in with an idea or, hey, I really like to work on this brand new thing that I just thought of, we're quite happy to lend you resources and support, and go for it. Have fun. See what you can do. And if all you want to do is get involved, but you don't really know how you want to get involved, there's lots of different ways you can just sort of drop in and see where you fit and see what interests you and what projects you're interested in working on and getting involved with.
And I actually didn't do Leanne justice. I made her sound like she's a coordinator, but she's also the person that members of the team bring their coding and data problems to, and she's a whiz of a technical expert on the team as well, going way beyond her hours and doing a whole lot more than just pushing people. She pushes me around more than anybody else, but just pushing people around.
Everyone on task.
Yeah. Yeah. You put it the polite way. I keep everybody on task. Hey, can Mackenzie say hello to us?
Go ahead, say hi.
Mackenzie.
Hi, Mackenzie.
Hi. Mackenzie's part of the team. She usually comes to our scrums and eats pizza with us. Right, Mackenzie?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Joelle, could you talk a little bit about our remote capacity and how we've moved to all be at our houses?
Yeah, so I mean, we had talked about it before briefly about what we were going to be doing, but because everything just happened so suddenly, it was definitely sudden. But at the same time, because we had SharePoint, because we work on different platforms, it wasn't too hard of a transition. Obviously, there were certain things that I specifically can't do. For example, like I was in the middle of doing inventory, and I could never complete that, obviously, because we are home currently. But overall, I would say we've still been successful in getting things done and enhancing what we've already had thus far.
Yeah, it's a great point. We've made a fantastic transition from our in-person and weekly meetings to working remotely. Matter of fact, I don't know, Leanne, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're having more meetings per week than we used to have. Oh, Justin's nodding his head. Yeah, we're having more meetings.
More scheduled meetings.
Yeah, we're scheduling more meetings, but our interactions have not gone down at all. Matter of fact, if anything, they've gone up, and it's one of the benefits of this project is that we all had such close communication the whole year, and of course, being in a computer school and having a lot of technically adept people helps as well. Yes. But we've been able to keep the project going. And matter of fact, one of the big plans we have right now, and Justin, maybe you could talk about this a little bit, is to expand on our activity on the campus pond. And what we're looking at doing is full instrumentation of the pond on the Pleasantville campus into an integrated sensor network. Talk about that a bit, because you've been doing a lot of the planning on it. And when this is done, this is going to be like our big living laboratory on the campus.
We are going to basically transform the pond itself into an actual living laboratory for the most part. We're going to put a shed on site with it so we can have ways to do testing and everything on site. Right now, we have one of these orange pods, is what we call these, sitting on the pond right now, giving us live stream data. I can actually dial into the data right now and take a look at it if I needed to. We're going to add a few more stations to it to try to locate. There's an actual problem in the pond that we found out. There's a phosphate issue in the pond, so we're going to put sensors in and try to figure out where it's coming from. We'll be able to use that scale on a 1 acre pond and be able to implement it on larger bodies of water, just by basically expanding the amount of stuff that we're going to do. At the same time, we are building a few things that are going to be, hate to use the word instrumental, but it's going to be instrumental to the instruments that are actually on the pond to help us do major projects on the pond itself. Right now, we're looking at the inlet and outlet to see if the problem is if we're getting good water coming in on the inlet and what it looks like coming in the outlet based on what's actually inside of the pond. We can be able to compare those numbers and see where the issue is coming from. Is it coming from somewhere outside of the pond? Is it coming from somewhere inside of the pond? And we can use that to basically model wetlands around the area. So we can basically take our project on the pond and grow it exponentially depending on what we did to it and what we find from it.
Yeah. So eventually we'll have maybe as many as 6 or 7 stations on the pond from inlet to outlet, and essentially instrument the entire body of water, and it would become an example for how to do that on small bodies of water. And one of the things that Kyle, if you could talk about this a little bit, one of the things I learned over the years working on the Hudson River estuary and some other water bodies is that when events happen that change water bodies, if you will, they're pulses, like a storm. So 90% of the changes that happen in a body of water, especially a small one, happen 10% of the time. In order to catch that 10%, you actually have to be out there 100%. So Kyle, talk about what happens when we look at data, we look at a visualization, how we see peaks and valleys, what a rainstorm does, what a hot day in the summer can do, and why the visualization of that data is so important.
So because we get so many data points, it's kind of hard to like sift through it all in terms of just the numbers, because you'll start seeing it just all starts blending together. You see a lot of ones, you see a lot of zeros, you see a lot of sevens, you see everything just starts blurring together, and it makes it hard to analyze a large volume of data. So one of the quickest and easiest ways to visualize all of that stuff is just to start graphing it and start figuring out ways to represent the data in different ways, as to just allow us to like jump through and sift through the data faster. And so going through it, you can start seeing the rain event days. You can actually start seeing the cyclic changes from the fall to the winter to the summer. You can start seeing the patterns as the temperature starts trending downward and starts trending back up. And you can see all those average temperatures, kind of like, and then as you zoom in, you can start seeing the individual rain events. You can start seeing like the 4 to 5 hour period when the rain happened. You can start seeing that the water starts getting more and more cloudy. You can start seeing all that stuff, which allows you to start noticing patterns in other things. Because you now know where the rain events are, you can start seeing things that you didn't really expect to see happen, like salt starts going up, or if like something else happens, like dissolved oxygen going down. You can suddenly start saying like, that's not supposed to be happening during this event period, and then you can start taking a deeper look at it. You can start applying some machine learning to start to identify those patterns once you know that they're there, and then you can automatically trigger notifications and changes in how your systems react to rain events, like increasing the sample rate, increasing like the different parameters and stuff like that during rain events. You can start optimizing your logging situation.
Yeah, and because you can do it 24/7. I mean, so imagine that you want to find out what happens to a body of water after a big storm, and you have 12 months ahead of you to plan it, and all you have is jars to take samples. It's not possible. You can't plan on storms. You have to sit at your window, wait for one, and go running out and start taking samples. So with real-time sensors and this real-time flow of data, as Kyle was talking about, you don't miss events. You don't miss those pulses that happen. You don't miss the oxygen going down. You don't miss the murkiness of the water because of a big storm event, because you're out there. You're literally out there with sensors 24/7. And it is the future of environmental research and environmental monitoring, and is the beginning of a whole new set of jobs and careers and job skills as this technology gets refined. And I would like some of you to talk about, you've been through the Blue CoLab for almost an entire school year. How do you see it contributing? And Shay, you're about to graduate. How do you see it contributing to what you would do sitting down at an interview? What does it give you to talk about if you were being interviewed for a job?
Well, I guess I'm extra fortunate because I can say that I led a team during the semester. But even if you don't like take on the role of team lead, you know, when you join, you still work with a whole bunch of different people who are doing different things. And I think the ability to coordinate with people at all layers of the project is very impressive when you speak to job, you know, people interviewing for jobs. Also, so we do also have a lot of weekly meetings, a lot more since coronavirus and things went remote. But every Friday we have this scrum meeting where everybody on the team comes. Team leads, people who are volunteering, everybody who's involved who wants to attend can drop in on these meetings. Sometimes people who aren't even on the Blue CoLab would come to these meetings. Like we had, I don't remember his name, but he was the data scientist who wanted to introduce the team to R programming. So there's just so many different people and so many different topics that are being dived right into on the team, and I think being in a setting where you can freely share where your layer of the project is at and coordinate, you know, say I'm having this problem, can anybody help me? There's always somebody who has an idea or who can at least send you in the right direction. Like I took on the task of building the app, and before that I had only made one app in a class for PACE. And honestly, I would be lying if I said I knew exactly what I was doing. But the fact is, here we are, it's the end of the semester, and everything turned out, you know, pretty good. And I think that's largely because I have a team full of diverse people who specialize in completely different things, but at the same time, you know, we're all connected by what we're doing and how our projects interact with each other. And we make an entire system out of the components that we produce on each of our teams. And that to me is really impressive, no matter who you're talking to about it.
Justin, you have a bunch of professional years behind you,
Sure.
yeah, including the military. What are you seeing? What are you learning? What's valuable to you now that you see yourself bringing out into the marketplace, into the workplace after you leave PACE?
Into the workplace, basically, this is adding to what I came in with, working with the different teams and what I learning different things, learning coding every now and then, even though I'm not a strong coding person. I was looking at code. I've given advice on certain things, on how to find things that I know was out there, just because I'm used to searching for things on the internet. But going back into the workforce with the knowledge that I have from the CoLab has been beneficial, because we're working on common goals that we've done here, especially at the scale of the goals that we're actually working on are things that I can put in my resume. My resume is already fairly extensive, but I can put those things in my resume as well to show what I've done while I've been in school. I've not just been in school sitting in a class or online taking classes. I've actually been working on goals the entire time.
But the CoLab's going to be up above your military career on your resume, right? I mean, it's going to be up on the...
It'll be around that. Less guns, a lot less guns.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah.
Yes.
So for those of you who are interested, we do not allow guns in the
No guns.
in the Blue CoLab. I'm glad you brought that.
Screwdrivers, we do have a lot of screwdrivers.
No weapons.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a lot of tools.
Yes.
A lot of
Proper
tools.
use of tools is very important. Oh, that's actually another thing too. If you don't know how to use tools and you come to the CoLab, ask us. I will show you how to use plenty of manual tools. There's guys and girls that will show you how to use the technical tools that we use and things like that. A good side benefit to being in our class as a student, in our CoLab as a student, is if you have problems in class, ask the question at the meetings or come by when we're doing office hours, because I guarantee you somebody has been through it before and they'll get you going. I've done that all year, I think.
And I also just want to chime in with one more thing. So another benefit that Justin didn't mention is if your laptop stops working during the semester, no matter how many times, he will fix it.
Yes.
Even if you have gone to Best Buy, tried everything that you could online, Justin will fix your laptop and will not guilt trip you about it one time.
No.
That's true. I watched Shay hold her breath for a straight 45 minutes while Justin fixed her laptop. And hey, Joelle, something that Justin just said clicked something in my head, which is although the team is a group of students, every student on the team finds themselves being a teacher for the other members, inevitably, every once in a while. And you're one of the newer team members in a sense, because you know, some of the folks here have been back here with us way back. But talk about you know, what that's like, you know, that environment that Justin was just talking about.
Right. Well, for me, 100% throughout a lot of this journey, since being on the Blue CoLab, I've definitely been a student, learning things that I never thought I would, to be honest with you, while I've been in Seidenberg. And it's given me professional exposure in a college-based group, you know, and I feel like that's separate and that's something different apart from my classes, you know, and apart from everything else that I've learned thus far. I'm constantly learning something new while on this team, and I appreciate the team for that. You know, I know way more about certain hardware, how things work, than I ever did before, and now I, you know, hopefully I can teach on or pass on what I've learned to somebody else, hopefully someday.
Well, yeah, because you got to come back. You got to come back after the summer. Yeah. We're all relying on it, because Shay's abandoning us to actually have a career, which I'll never forgive her for.
She's the only one, but
yeah, well, that's true. That's true. That's true enough. Leanne. Yes. You too. I mean, you play the teacher role a lot, and also you've taught. You know, you've taught courses at Seidenberg as well. What's the compare the two, if you will? I mean, because you know, you're very modest. I'm saying something that you wouldn't say, but you do take team members under your wing. You work with them, and you spend more time being a teacher inside the Blue CoLab than even being a coordinator. Talk about what this has added to your and for those of you who don't know, Leanne was already a full-time staff person at Seidenberg before she put in the extra time to be our program coordinator. But what's that experience been like? What has it added to you and to your experience to play that role?
Well, I definitely I've always kind of been that nerd telling everybody else how to do it because I figured it out. So it's allowed me to a certain extent to take that role and to expand it a bit and have the opportunity to help other students work on, you know, projects that interest them and that have the ability to move their resume forward in a way that strict classwork doesn't. So it's definitely a different environment working with the team members than it is working with a classroom, if only because, you know, the team members in most part volunteered for this, and they're a lot more engaged and they're a lot more interested than necessarily a classroom would be. And so it's given me a fantastic opportunity to work with the team a lot more than you get to do as a teacher. You don't necessarily get to work with your students. You sort of help them work with each other. So yeah, I've gained a lot of experience in team building and teamwork, and I pretend I know what I'm talking about, but the students come to me with ideas that I would never have thought of or barely understand all the time. I go, yeah, that sounds fantastic, and then Google it so I can figure out what they're not. I'm good at faking it. But, so
well, thanks for letting me know. This is good information for me to have. So I don't want you to talk about anybody who's not here. So of the people who are here, who's the most difficult to work with? No, wait. Besides me, I know what you were going to say. It almost came out of your mouth.
Too tall. He's too tall to work with. It is ridiculous. We need to work on this.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. When he puts his chin on the top of your head, that's just embarrassing.
He's done that. Well, we're running out of time here. We got about 8 more minutes before we hit our hour. So one thing I'd like to ask some of the students is, what kind of advice would you give to incoming students who are thinking of what college to go to? Justin, because I can see you right now.
Find out what programs they have. Find out what hands-on stuff you're going to do. The hands-on stuff is the most important thing you're going to learn. Some colleges do not offer that. PACE offers a lot of it, especially Blue CoLab. I'm not saying that because I'm in it. Last year I was not in it. I wanted to be in it. I asked questions, and now I am in it because I saw what they were doing, and it looked very intriguing. It was a lot less boring than doing the stuff in class. Find projects. Find things you can actually put on your resume. It will put you a step above other students that are just graduating because they sat in class.
Kyle, can you talk a little bit about what you would advise? And
Yeah, totally. You got to find the program that suits you. I'm a very tangible, hands-on learner. I like doing stuff hands-on and delving really deep into the hardware, dealing with the code, seeing how the code reacts, actually doing it. There's a lot of programs out there. If you're a theory person, find a program that really helps you deal with theory and helps, and that's all well and good. That's not who I am, and Seidenberg really helps with the hands-on thing. If you say you want to do something, they'll be like, all right, get ready, buckle up, and they'll start. And until you say stop, they'll keep giving you opportunities to do hands-on projects and just do stuff that makes a meaningful impact with your work. And so you're not just doing projects to do for the sake of doing projects. You're doing projects for the sake of doing projects to help somebody else or to do something that has a tangible result. Just so it's just not something that's just going to be sitting on your GitHub for a potential employer to see. It's a potential project an employer might see that might also get you another connection that might get you a job. So yeah.
thanks. Does anybody have anything else they want to say? I know we're quickly running out of time here.
I wanted to say, I came to PACE as a community college transfer. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know, I didn't have any substantial work experience or anything. And all I did was ask, hey, how could I get involved with something cool? And the fact that there were people right there, at least 5 of them, who could point me in the direction of a real project to work on, that made me feel like, okay, I made the right choice. So I would say make sure to look for schools, or if you, no matter where you go, look for people who will connect you with these opportunities, because they have to exist at other schools out there. I don't know if they exist as well as they do over here at PACE, but.
Yeah. So let me just take 1 second to be unabashed about this. Come to PACE. When I was offered an opportunity 20 years ago to be a guest scholar at Pace University, I couldn't fit it into my schedule. The reason I said yes was because Pace was going to give me the opportunity, and students the opportunity to teach skills, students the opportunity to learn skills, and to learn by doing, to learn by failing, by going out in the real world, and having that experience of putting their skills on the line with other professionals. The Blue CoLab is no different. It sounds like, it can easily sound like we're in a bubble. We have all these great facilities. We're going to be evaluated. We're going to be judged. The quality of our work is going to be judged not by other students. It's going to be judged by other professionals. And that's the test. And the opportunity that Pace has given me for 2 decades to teach practical skills, to help students go out into the real world, to learn professional level skills and expertise at the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior level is unlike what most schools I know, and I work with a lot of schools. The projects I've worked on at Pace, faculty at other schools have said to me, how in the world did you ever get to do that? And the Blue CoLab is no different. I've lost count at how many times I've been asked the question, how did Pace University allow you to do this? And my answer is always the same: come to Pace and find out. I've had a very colorful career, and the best part of my career is working with students at Pace University. So anybody who listens to this, it's a good place to land.
I know I wouldn't be anywhere else. I had an opportunity to search around to find out which school I wanted to be at, and the programs that I saw at Pace made it my one and only choice when I was going back to school.
All right, I think we are about out of time. So, Dean Hill, do you have any closing remarks?
Yeah, I'm not crying. You're crying. And that was absolutely wonderful. It's impressive work and wonderful, wonderful people, but it's the kind of work that makes a difference. And I'm so grateful to all of you and so impressed with what you've done. And this is just the first year of the project at the Seidenberg School. And I can't wait till these wonderful people on the call come in and put their shoulders to the wheel and join. So thank you all for coming out tonight. And thank you to Professor Cronin and the Blue CoLab team for just a wonderful example of what can be done with desire and good intention and skill.
And Dean Hill, we all owe you a great deal of thanks. It takes a special dean to allow a unique initiative like this to launch. I remember very distinctly 4 years ago, you and I ran into each other on a street in New York City, and you said to me, one of these days, you've got to help me bring the environment into Seidenberg School. And when I took you up on it and you said, walk in the door, it was music to my ears. And so, but it takes a special dean to allow something like this to happen. Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure. And it's a good thing we frequent the same nightclubs. Yeah. So. I wasn't going to say that. Anyway, fantastic and exciting. And I can't wait to see what you all do next year. So thanks.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, guys. So if anyone has questions, we're just in view mode this evening. So if you guys have questions about the CoLab, feel free to email us at seidenberginquiry@pace.edu. And we'll follow up with you guys and get you in contact with the CoLab, and they can, explain a little bit more about some of the projects that they've been working on. So thank you to everyone on the panel.
Yeah. Thanks, team.
Fantastic job. Have a great night.
See you guys soon.